Jamie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how I got my first job in the media industry, which I didn't think would happen this soon, so I'm very, very happy about that. And I asked on my Instagram if you guys had any questions that you wanted answering about like how I got my job. So yeah, let's get straight into it. I'll probably just do the questions first and then kind of fill in the gaps with what wasn't asked with any information that I think would be useful. So the first question was asking what the job was exactly that I'm doing. And so obviously I'm not going to go into the names of the company for like privacy reasons, but I work as a production coordinator for a video production company. The company has worked with some pretty big names that are super cool, and yeah, it's a really cool job. So my main responsibilities are like talking with potential clients and like current clients, finding out what they want produced, like kind of organising the pre-production process, such as helping work out what kit's needed, finding people that are suitable for the job, and like creating shoot records, doing risk assessment forms, a lot of the kind of like paperwork and stuff like that, basically making sure a project happens and making sure it runs smoothly. So the second question links to that. It is, how are you enjoying the job and is it super intense? So I am really, really enjoying it. It's exactly kind of what I wanted to do, what I realised I wanted to do. And the people I work with are really nice, like both kind of like the people I work with on a day-to-day basis and also the people that, like the clients I work with and the like freelance staff that I work with as well. They're all really, really nice and also like really talented. It's insane. It's a great team of people, which is super nice. It's always nice when you're working with good people. It makes the job a lot more easy. But yeah, the job is really intense. So I started probably around the busiest time I could have started. Obviously, I had a lot of assistants and stuff like that. It was just very intense. It has kind of mellowed out a bit now. It is a lot more kind of what I was expecting, but there was a week or so where it was super intense. And obviously with this kind of job, depending how many clients you're working with at a time, how many films you're producing at a time, like you are going to go through super intense periods of time. Yeah, it's not too stressful day to day. It's just when you've got like multiple things happening on one day or like multiple deadlines on one day, then it's really stressful. I actually work part-time, so I work 20 hours a week. So I still work at the cinema. So I work there like fully part-time. I was always contracted for part-time there, but I did tend to work between like 30 and like 40 hours a week, but now that I'm just on a part-time, just doing my part-time hours, so it is quite stressful doing two jobs at once. I never thought I would be doing that, but I really liked the company that I got the job offer from, and I wanted to take it. And the people who worked at the cinema were very understanding. One of them actually helped do my referencing. So it is difficult working two jobs at once. I think that is more of where the stress comes from than like the actual jobs themselves. So one question was, what course did you take after school? So I'm not quite sure about what exactly you mean by this, but I'll just go through what I did at school and like what I did at uni and stuff like that. So for GCSEs, I didn't get a chance to do any sort of media or film production, or study courses. I know the school that I went to now do offer that, but at the time it didn't. So I chose to do history, French and drama alongside your maths, your English, science, IT, Welsh, art, religious studies, stuff like that. So that was what I chose to do. And then for A-levels, again, there was no option to do any sort of media or film. I did consider going to the college, but it was just too far away and I liked where I was, I liked where my school was. So I decided to do English, literature, history, biology, chemistry, which I then dropped after AS level, and then Welsh back. And then at university, this is when I first did my kind of like film. So I did film and television studies, joint honours with English literature. I really enjoyed the English literature side of my degree, but because I do want to go into media, having done like a fully like film course or TV course, that probably would have been more beneficial to me, but obviously I was pushed into doing English literature. This is just by my teachers, like not by family or anything. So yeah, that's what I did. And I was also, teachers did discourage me from going to the university I did go to, which was Aberystwyth University, because it wasn't a Russell group. But I really enjoyed the course. When I went, they had like a mock TV studio up, which I did eventually get to use when I did my degree. I just really liked all the practical stuff they offered, compared to Manchester, which was the university I was strongly considering going to, which just offered a purely theoretical course. So yeah, I did my degree. Obviously half of that was during COVID, which sucked and meant that I couldn't do a lot of the practical stuff, but I still targeted my interest towards television, like through my dissertation and stuff like that. After uni, I went straight into working at the cinema. I moved city and moved to a different city, a new city I've never been to before, which is quite risky. But I started working at the cinema and I do really enjoy it. I haven't done any courses since graduating. I was tempted to do a course at the National Film and Television School in London. It's a course called Floor Managing and Assistant Directing. It sounded awesome, but it's super expensive, and because it's a postgraduate diploma rather than a master's, you don't get any funding for it. So I always knew I'd be taking a year out because I was so burnt out after my degree. That year was mainly for me just to like kind of discover what I wanted, save some money up for a course if I wanted to do it. So yeah, I haven't done anything since then, just working at the cinema. But working at the cinema did really, really strengthen my application because I basically picked up opportunities. So I took up being a kind of supervisor thing. So I learned about some elements of film programming, and like management and stuff like that, which obviously when you're going into kind of a production, like a producer role, having management skills, stuff like that is really helpful. Do you think your degree prepared you well for your job? Yes, I do think it did. So it gave me a really good overview of kind of like most of the different roles that you would find in media industries. So obviously I targeted my interest towards TV, so it was mainly the roles within the TV industry. So yeah, you could try like things out. So I tried out being a floor manager and I really enjoyed it. I tried out production roles, like filming roles, camera operator. I tried out editing. So yeah, I really got a really good overview of all the different roles. I did a lot of theory modules to do with TV, which gave me a really good insight around how to kind of like create new ideas for TV, how the TV industry works, and yeah, just like a more theoretical approach to all the different roles. And yeah, it really did help. Obviously, I could have done more myself. I could have done, like I said, I could have done a full film degree. That would have obviously given me more options to develop my skills, and I could have done more extracurricular activities. I didn't join any proper like production societies. I did go to like a teaser one for a media society, but it was mainly based around journalism and newspapers, and that's just not my thing. The university, because it's quite small, there wasn't really too many like major societies. It was, even though I do think my degree did prepare me well, I think it's not the only thing that you need. I think you do need other things, which I will get into in a bit. But it's a very, very good thing to do. I really strongly believe in university. I don't think it's right for everybody, but it was right for me. It gave me the skills I needed. It taught me the things I wanted to learn. And I think it's a great thing in addition to any experience or like just your passion. It shows your passion if you're there studying for 3 years. So I think it's great in that aspect. And also, like, I can say I have made films. I can say I've made a documentary because I did make a documentary. So yeah, it's like looking at it that way, I think it really did help. And I think, again, it's how you present your time at universities to employers. So I can say I did a film and TV degree, and then I'll be like, great, cool. But if I then kind of break it up a bit and say I pitched a documentary and I got it produced, you know, if you kind of pinpoint it down, break it down into specifically what you did and present that as its whole thing, then I think it definitely strengthens out your application and shows like specifically to employers what roles you have played within kind of a production or like, you know, stuff like that. So the next question is, how did you decide on the specific area that you wanted to work in? And yeah, this took a long time because I generally love every aspect of like production. I love the pre-production, I love being on set and filming, and I also love editing and making it all polished and, you know, putting it out there. I like every part of it, which at first I thought was great because it's like, well, I can do anything, but for a while I didn't target my skills into one area, so like everything I did was kind of all over the place. So I just had to basically look at myself and be like, what am I kind of gravitating towards? What do I need the least amount of assistance in, or like guidance in? What do I, you know, I think also finding a role that you're like doubting yourself the least. Like I would say probably camera operating cinematography is my weakest. And then I realised over time that I do like to be kind of in control of what I'm doing. And the best way to be in control of what you're doing is to be in the producer-ish role. Obviously, I'm not a producer, but yeah, so I did like floor managing. That you're making sure everything runs on time. I work like during university, this is like in a module, did production assistant. So I was there again, making sure everything ran on time. So I just realised those are the two things that I naturally felt drawn to. So that is kind of what that's what I should be doing. And also I think YouTube really helped with that as well, because I generally found the part of YouTube process that I enjoyed the most was coming up with ideas, planning ideas. The next question is, what is the job application process like? So I have applied to a lot of jobs. I've applied to work experience, I've applied to internships, I've applied to graduate schemes. I've applied to a lot. So yeah, there's lots of different application processes. So the one that I got the job for was my favourite type of process. It's quite simple. So all they asked for was your CV, and they gave you 3 questions to answer, and you answered them and you submitted it. The questions were, you know, kind of like, what skills do you think you have that will be vital to this role? What interests you in this role? Stuff like that. Or also one of the things was like, what education / experience do you have? And they said that it didn't matter whether it was professional experience, just any experience is good, which I liked. So that really drew my interest in the company, because it's like, well, a lot of places will ask for a certain amount of years of professional experience. Obviously, I have 0 years of professional experience for getting this job, so I could basically rule out all of those jobs. So seeing a company that was like, we value any experience rather than just professional paid experience was a really big tick for me. I then got invited to an interview, which was an interview over like video call, and again similar questions about the one thing that I would definitely recommend is researching the company before you apply for the job, or before your interview. The first question they asked me was, can you tell me about the company? Can you tell me about the company and what videos we produce? So if I hadn't have researched the company very well, then I wouldn't have been able to answer that question. They also asked things about again, my experience, whether I have management experience, stuff like that. How do you like organise your time? You know, they're quite simple questions that you can really expand on. I'm not the best at interviews, I don't find. So yeah, I don't know if I have any specific tips, because I haven't done too many interviews either. Especially, I've only done 2 interviews for. I've only got 2 interviews for like film, TV jobs, because I just don't get that far in the application process typically. So yeah, after I got the interview and I did the interview, I then got kind of an offer, but he was like, I want to have a chat. I would like to offer the job, but I would like to have a chat. So we called and, you know, talked about the job. And then he asked for references, and then so I had to go get my references, and then I got the job. Now this, again, so many different places have different application processes. So I've applied to a lot of BBC Channel 4 jobs, particularly the graduate schemes and the summer work experience. So with those, they're a bit different. So first of all, because obviously they have so many people applying to them. So the first stage is the initial application, where again, they will ask for your CV. They will also ask for your background, information about your background. And then so they say they don't take that into consideration in the application. And then you have like 3 or 4 questions, which are things like, what is a TV show that you watched recently that you enjoyed? They then, if you get past that stage, then they'll invite you to like this online assessment centre, which they basically ask you questions like situational awareness questions, I think they're called. I really don't like them. So they'll be like, oh, you're working at this job and your manager says you need to stay overtime, and it's like, do you stay overtime or do you abandon your other projects and work with that one now? Do you say no? And it's like basically just judging whether or not you'd fit into that environment. I don't like that kind of assessment, really. I just think everybody's so different, and like people know what questions, like what's the right answer a lot of the time, and even if that answer isn't necessarily like yourself. So yeah, I don't like those type of things at all. Then if you're successful after that point, you will go on to secondary application questions. I remember one of the ones for the BBC was like any kind of area in the BBC that you think needs improving, stuff like that. They are quite tough questions. And then you will get invited to do kind of like an online video interview. So there's not another person on the other side, but you'll basically be timed. So you'll have 1 minute to answer the question that they tell you. Some places only give you one attempt. Some places give multiple. Some places give you half an hour to answer that question. It all depends on what company. Again, that's very stressful, especially if you only got one attempt. I've been lucky that all of my ones have been multiple attempts. So you can just keep re-recording it. But I do know people that have had ones that are just one attempt. So if you mess up, then you mess up. And that is the furthest I've got with any of the big companies. After that, I think you go on to like a one-to-one interview, and then you go to like a in-person assessment centre, and you will get more interviews. You'll do more questions, stuff like that. They may test your skills. I don't know. I haven't done that. So the next question I think is a very important question. What can you do when you're young to prepare for your future? So I think one of the biggest things is getting some sort of experience. So if you do have connections to the industry and you can get work experience working, I don't know, at a radio station, something like that, then that is great. But realistically, that's not going to be possible for most people. So doing things that show your passion or interest in the industry. So YouTube, I think, played a big part in me being accepted for this job, because it showed that I kind of knew I could produce things and I could manage a channel. I could organise my time alongside doing uni work and later my job while still maintaining a YouTube channel. So do something like that. It can be anything. I know somebody who got a job working for a newspaper and one of the things he did was doing a film blog. So it's things like that. You know, film blogs, YouTube channels, even if it's running just like a fan page for a TV show. If you're in university and you're interested in this sort of thing, you could join a student newspaper, write about your favourite films. You could get into photography if there's a photography society. And I would say if your school does offer media studies, film studies, stuff like that, like I'm talking GCSE A-level, I strongly recommend doing it. I think I would have realised what I wanted to do a lot earlier if I had had the opportunity to do those. I would also say keep watching and engaging with film and TV. Watch old stuff, watch new stuff, learn about, the different parts of the industry, learn about, what different channels offer. And I would say the biggest thing is to teach yourself new skills. If you don't have people to teach those skills for you, then you're gonna have to learn yourself. Editing's different. Like my first thought was editing, but you do need a good laptop to do that. Or if you have like an Apple product, they have decent editing softwares on there for like simple things. But there are tons of tutorials out there. If you're interested in script writing, I reckon there's probably tons of free script writing courses that you can learn online. You might have to pay a small fee, but generally it's cheaper than university, stuff like that. So teach yourself skills. That's kind of the main things I would say. I'm just going to go into some general tips I have for the whole process. So first of all, I definitely recommend getting somebody to help with your CV and your cover letter. I hate cover letters. I hate jobs that ask for cover letters. Get someone to help with that. I didn't get help for a while, and I should have got help with it a lot sooner. Right, apply to loads of jobs is my other tip. Some job application processes for your BBC, Channel 4, ITV, they take months, that process. So you can't just apply to one thing. You've got to apply to loads of different things and expect to get rejected or more frequently, ghosted. Half the time, they just will not respond to you. They will not tell you you've been rejected. Enough time will pass and you'll be like, right, I haven't got it. Which, that sucks. Just send out a simple universal rejection email to everybody that you're not hiring. It's that simple. And I would definitely recommend having a basic template for kind of like interview questions. So there are certain things they're going to want to know. They're going to want to know your experience. They're going to want to know your education maybe, things like that. They get your talking points like nailed down. So if they ask you a question, you know exactly what you're going to say to it. You may have to rejig what you're saying, but yeah. And also same with application questions. Apply to small companies. I think you should always give the big companies a go, because if you get a job with the BBC or Channel 4 or ITV, that's incredible. But realistically, it's going to be the smaller companies that hire you. If you are going to A-levels or going into university and you're 100% sure you want to go into the media industry, I would strongly recommend looking into apprenticeships. It's something that I wish I had considered before I went to university. I'm still glad I went to uni, but apprenticeships give you, they train you to a university level, but with that you're getting the experience every day. There's such fantastic opportunities. The BBC apprenticeship scheme is fantastic. But yeah, that's all I can really say. Obviously, this is my first job. This is, just what I did. Obviously, this is just my experience. But yeah, this video is a lot longer than I thought it would be. But yeah, I hope this was somewhat helpful and just gives you a better idea of the process. And I think the big thing is just to not get discouraged. It's a very tough industry to break into. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, then please give it a like and comment down below any other questions you have and I'll try to answer them. And yeah, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!